I feel like Mario Kart's kind of had its day, and they've kind of done so much to it that, I don't know, I just don't really want to play it anymore.
That's a bummer, because that takes away some of the driving skill. I mean, I remember when they took away the barriers on Rainbow Road. You know, and you're like,
oh yeah, was that on the 64?
Yeah, and you're like, what are you doing? How am I supposed to stay on this thing? But when you would run laps and you wouldn't fall off, it made you feel like an accomplished driver. Like, that's right, I didn't even hit the brakes once.
Yeah, if you can drive in Los Angeles downtown or on the freeways, or if you can drive in Mario Kart on Rainbow Road without falling off, you can pretty much drive anywhere.
Yep.
You can drive a hovercraft through a Swiss cheese hole if you wanted to.
You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Mick, Alex, I Yield to No One,
Steve,
and Troy.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Trophy Horse. This is episode 376. Sorry, I forgot what episode we were on there, even though I wrote up the agenda. Yield, how could you let me do that?
I thought it was 375, so that'd have been worse.
Yeah, we're getting up there so much that not only in age but also in episodes that we just got to be staring at the screen at our agenda before we announce anything, so we don't look like complete boobs to the audience.
Boobs.
Well, thank you, Beavis and Butthead, for joining us here on this episode of Trophy Horse. Yield, in the news this week, Kingdom Hearts 3. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. I hope you got it, because I sure didn't.
I have a friend who posted a picture of the box art, and I wanted to ask him, have you finished it yet? Because you know anybody who's playing Kingdom Hearts is playing like a shit ton of it every day and trying to get through it as soon as possible.
Oh, absolutely. You know, that is the one series I've never gotten into.
I think this is where the show misses Donnie the most.
Yes.
Because you know his hot take on this game would be so good. Whether he loves it, whether he hates it, like, with a game like that he's been anticipating for so long, I imagine he's either going to love it or hate it, because there's no middle ground with that. So I would just love to hear Donnie's hot take.
He has been playing it a lot.
Oh, shit, yeah, he has. How long has he been waiting for it for? Half his life?
Exactly.
Donnie was just a wee lad. We were all wee lads when we first started sending our letters, our Christmas letters to Santa for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yep.
A long time ago. Well, it has been a long, long time since I've earned a trophy. Things are not going to change this week, although, Yield, I will update you. From the PlayStation Essentials sales it actually might still be going on, I did actually buy a game using the money that you sent me for Christmas. It's actually the perfect amount.
Oh yeah? What'd you get?
Actually, you know what? I'll talk about that and what we've been playing. I haven't cracked it open yet, but we'll go over that.
All right.
Like I said, my trophy count's the same. It's level 31, total trophy count of 6,819, a platinum count of 101 platinums in 100 games. So my global and U.S. ranks as far as trophy hunting are going down by the hour, by the day. But you know what? Hey, that's fine. I'm playing some games. I'm having some fun. Yield, could you please share your trophy count with our lovely listeners?
So I'm a level 27. A trophy count of 5695. So close to 5,700. And a platinum count of 86.
Tricky is level 39. Total trophy count of 9,826. And a platinum count of 117. Steve is level 15. Total trophy count of 2,090. And a platinum count of 11. And Sid, the destroyer of everyone who ever hopes to win a trophy war. Sid is level 35. Total trophy count of 8,348 and a platinum count of 148. If we do another trophy war, I cannot believe we've never said this. If we do another trophy war, we call Sid.
Oh, absolutely. He's already on the show, so we get Sid. Haha.
Sid would have more platinums. Like, over the course of 5 days, maybe, Sid would have more platinums than everybody else combined during the month.
Oh, probably.
Love that Sid. All right, well, I kind of alluded to this earlier. I bought a new game on the PlayStation. And I know that Tricky has been requesting, or he's been encouraging me to play this game for a long time. So I'm sure I would have liked to have Tricky here when we discussed this or when I revealed this. I bought God of War because it was on sale for about $25.
Oh, so you're going to play the new one.
Yeah, I know that I talked about this a lot and how they should have stopped with God of War 3. I still feel that way because God of War Ascension, it was fine, wasn't great. Just one of those games that you're like, you know what? That's not really, it's not as good as the other games. So this shouldn't be here. But, I've heard a lot about this game. Everyone says it's really good. So, I am a God of War fan. I want to see, and like I said, you sent me the money. So for my Christmas present, it's basically free. So why not? I've heard good things about it, and God of War, the Norse setting. Sure, I'll jump in. I think it is telling though that I have not played it. I've had it since Tuesday morning, and I still haven't played it. We're recording this on Sunday, so I'm getting close to a week of having it and not even playing it. So that's telling about how excited I am for the game. Because a lot of times I'll buy a new game and I want to play it right away. I want to try it right away. This one I'm willing to sit on for a little bit, but I do want to play it because, it was on sale. It was a good price. So I do want to, and I will be playing the new God of War. So you guys will finally get to hear my opinions instead of me bitching about how the game shouldn't have been made and how it shouldn't have shifted into a different period or a different area of the world. So you'll actually get my real thoughts on the game. Other than that, just playing some more Nintendo Switch. So for the past few weeks, it sounds like I should actually be a host on, or a guest at least, because there's only 2 hosts, but a guest on the Nintendo dual screens. But Yield,
yes,
why don't you enlighten us and tell us what you've been playing? I know the Division 2 is probably about a month and a half away from coming out. You've been talking about playing some of the Division. Have you been actually playing any more of the Division or any more racing games?
I've been playing some racing games. I have fired up Dakar 18. I did a couple more legs in the stage.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Have you platinumed down on Rush yet?
No, not yet. And that is another game I jumped back into and played for a while this weekend. I have got 6 trophies left before the platinum. The majority of those are now kind of the grindy trophies. I have to finish out single player, which some of the parameters to get all of the stars, and it even says this in some of the online guides, is some of it's luck, some of it is skill, some of it is a little of both. Because sometimes they'll be like this one I was doing, driving the Enforcer, its rush ability is when you get in front of cars, it blinds them. When you get directly in front of a car, it blinds them. So they can't see. Well, you had to blind 6 cars in one race. So it's kind of a matter of getting your rush ability built up and then make sure you've got kind of the cars all in front of you and then be able to kind of either they're packed together where you can kind of split the middle and get them both, or to be able to kind of swerve across the track. Okay, I got this guy. I'm going to go over here and get this guy, and so on and so forth. So I've got that to do. I'm going to say this, and you'll probably agree with me, but luck-based trophies can kiss my ass. Yeah,
it's like putting a speed run in Uncharted. You just don't do it.
Yeah, I haven't gotten overly frustrated, other than sometimes I get mysteriously killed. But then sometimes I've seen the replay, and I've been like, oh, okay, well then that's legit. Sometimes I've just mysteriously gotten killed, and I'm just like, I don't understand how.
Mysteriously killed sounds like the next chapter of Murdered Soul Suspect.
There you go. I'd buy that game.
Yes, we both would.
So I've been playing Dakar 18, been playing Onrush. Trophies, I need that one. I need 50 checkmate medals, which you gotta bump a guy into an obstacle to wreck him, and that's considered you got checked, and you need to do that 3 times to get a checkmate medal. but there's nowhere where to check to see how far along you are. You just kind of keep doing it. I've got that. I've got to get 200, like 30 pieces of gear, and it's different pieces.
That old chestnut, huh? You've talked about that one before.
Yeah, so I'm working. I'm just basically I'm working on the grindy stuff where you just got to keep going through. So I popped it in this weekend, messed around with it a little bit. Dakar 18, played some everybody's golf. There's an international tournament going on right now. I think it started on the 1st, goes through the 7th to qualify, and then the 8th through the 14th is the finals. So I need to hop on there and do my qualification round to see if I advance to the finals. Been playing some Red Dead Redemption 2, getting into that. I'm up to chapter 3 now. And last night, I don't know why. I've got a lot of games I'm going on. I kind of almost feel like I'm bouncing between too many. But yeah, you know how sometimes you get that feeling you want to play a new game. So I fired up Song of the Deep.
I've 100% that. I just sound like an idiot there. I have 100% of the trophies in that. There we go. That's a lot better. Really good game. Actually, I mean, I like the whole. It's Insomniac. I like the whole the art style. I like the theme of the game. I like playing it. Gameplay's fun. The final boss though was kind of a disappointment for me. And if you have a disappointing final boss, I feel like that kind of taints the whole experience.
I will let you know when I get there. I've gotten really the first boss. But I'm past that right now. Right now, I just the Deep Light. Not that that'll mean anything to anybody who hasn't played it, but
that's probably halfway through the game, maybe.
That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting, and I'm probably about halfway through.
Yeah, it's been a few years since I played that, but I definitely do remember the Deep Light, and that being like one of the later things that you do in the game. But what are your thoughts on the game so far?
I really enjoy it. I like how they've got and I'm probably using the accent wrong, but like the Scottish narrator. I think that fits really well with the tone of the game, and I like the visuals.
Yeah, in general, like underwater exploration games are always super interesting because a lot of us have not actually been it's not like we can go to Disney World. Or Disneyland, or a theme park, or some part of the world we can go to the Grand Canyon. A lot of us don't get to go to the bottom of the ocean or get to see what life is like underneath the sea. So it gives people a lot more freedom to just create and not have somebody saying, "Well, that's not
accurate.
That's not factual." And it just seems like the ocean and the water have always been a very at times scary, but a very mysterious and intriguingly mysterious place. It's what's down there? I want to know what the fuck is down there. So a game, any game that has underwater exploration, it's always I'm always drawn to that because it the city of Atlantis, it's such a cool concept, and it's I want Atlantis to be real because an underwater sunken city, ancient city, just sounds so amazing. So if you can put that into a game where I'm just exploring underwater ruins, it's so much more fun than actually exploring temple ruins on the surface.
I concur. I like going through the ruins and trying to find the path you need to go to. There's that treasure I need, and it's point A to point B. But then as you're going there, you've got doors locked, so you have to traverse all the way around it to get there, to unlock the easy door, to get, that would have been the easiest way to get there, but that's your way out. I don't know. I really like it. It was a nice, I won't say deterrent.
Palate cleanser?
Or a nice change of pace for Insomniac, from doing, the Ratchet and Clank and all that. I like it. It flexes their developing muscles.
Yeah, and there's a nice story in there, so it's not just all looks. There is a story in there, so there's a lot to draw you to the game. And I liked Song of the Deep. I think I played it around the time that I played Firewatch, enjoyed both those games. I know you're a big fan of Firewatch.
I loved Firewatch.
Yeah, but any underwater exploration game, like any movie, like creature features having to deal with sea monsters or any concepts like that, you see like the old world maps and like these very primitive sea monsters on there, something that would look like the Loch Ness Monster or something, dragons coming out of the water. Like all that's super interesting to me, and I've always found myself like enjoying that. Like shark movies, anything like that, I've always really enjoyed. So if you put me in a game where I get to explore underwater, there's a chance that I'm going to like it a lot. It's like putting a game in Egypt. I'm gonna at least give you a second look and be like,
"Yep,
this might take my money." I don't know, but yeah, I love underwater settings, which has made BioShock and Rapture so interesting. Not only exploring underwater, but just this world built under the ocean. Like that was just a fantastic concept that I just dove right into.
Speaking of underwater, have you seen Aquaman yet?
I haven't seen Aquaman yet. I'm
You
not.
have not. Okay.
No, I'm not big on the DC movies because, quite frankly, like I'm a bigger Marvel fan than DC. I don't really like a lot of DC's heroes, and just the quality of DC's movies. It seems like they're trying to rush everything to catch up with the MCU. When the MCU's thing, like the seeds were planted very carefully, and they knew what they were doing, and they've always given such care to it. The DC movies, like Aquaman, like looks really good. Like the underwater scenes look beautiful. Like the action looks intense. It looks like a big awesome movie. But DC has had that before where they entice you with their trailers and the trailers look good and you get to the movie and there's always something that makes it fall apart. Except for Wonder Woman. That was kind of the one exception.
Yeah, I would say watch Aquaman. It's not as good as Wonder Woman, but it was still a good movie.
Okay.
I enjoyed myself for what it was. I mean, like I said, definitely not Wonder Woman, but I would probably put it up there above the Batmans that they've done recently.
Huh. That's surprising. That makes me, when you mention the underwater cities in Aquaman, makes me think less of Little Mermaid and more of like the Gungans in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. You remember how they used to, like, they had little speeder pods and they would actually just fly into like the bubble?
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for something else to kind of take your mind off all the racing games you've been playing,
all right,
and maybe something a little bit before the Division 2, PlayStation Plus games for February have been announced. Before we get into the games, they're actually expanding the cloud storage space to 100 gigs.
Ooh, awesome.
Yeah, so currently 10 gigabytes for PlayStation Plus members you can use to upload your saves to the cloud, but in February, it's going to 100 gigabytes, which, I don't know about you, Yield. I've had to erase games from my PlayStation 4 to make room for new games, but I've never really had an issue with storage space on the cloud as far as game saves go.
I don't believe I've hit my cap yet either. But hey, I mean, there might be some people who are.
True. Sure, there's plenty of people out there that play more PlayStation games than you and I do. I don't tend to buy a ton of new games. So, this obviously, there is a need for this. Sony's not just doing this for no reason. So, there's obviously a need for this. So, in February, if you're running low on space on your cloud saves, 100 gigabytes is coming your way. So, it's good for Sony for, just expanding it by 10 times, too. And that I figure 100 gigabytes for save files should do people pretty well.
I would say you're good to go.
Yeah. You gotta wonder, though, how much of that is, like, space is old save files that people never use. Like, how I don't know if you ever did this, but, like, on the PS2 or the original PlayStation, actually, when I beat a game, I would keep all the save data on my memory card because it was kind of like a trophy before we had trophies.
Yeah.
So, like, how many people could just go through and just get rid of old save files they're never gonna play and just clear up more than enough space in 10 gigs?
Oh, probably a lot.
Maybe we still have that mindset of, a finished game save file is kind of like a trophy, one that we can't initially show off to people, but in our minds we know it's there. Good for Sony for doing something that's obviously very, very customer based there.
That or I just had a thought. That or they're testing something or setting up for something that's coming down the pipeline.
That is a very good thought. I don't really know what else you could be using cloud saves for.
Because 10 to 100 seems like a big jump, It almost would seem like, well, here's 25.
Yeah. If you double it, if 10 gigs has lasted this long, I mean, you figure, 25 would be good enough, just doubling it. But, I mean, you're right, it is a pretty big jump. I just don't know what they could be doing. I mean, obviously, a lot of the talk in the industry is a lot of things moving to the cloud, a lot of stuff, not necessarily being, on your end, like hardware not on the customer's end, but basically things being streamed to your television or your devices from another location. I just don't know what they could do with someone's personal cloud data that would necessitate that much space.
I don't know either. I don't know. It's like I said, just a thought. This would be where the more technical people like Tricky would have a more of knowledge of whether or not my hypothesis has any bearing or weight to it.
To be fair, though, as we get on in technology, storage space becomes increasingly cheaper. I remember, getting like 100 gigabyte Western Digital hard drive, which I still, after all these years, I probably had it for 10 plus years. I still haven't filled it up even maybe a fifth of the way. But storage space is cheap, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper as time goes on. So maybe this is just Sony saying they're looking at their data, they're looking at their users, and they're like, okay, we can make this jump pretty cheap, and then we don't have to make another technology leap for years and years and years. This 100 gigs will do good for a long, long time, so we don't have to deal with it in the future.
And that could be.
But I certainly won't throw out your hypothesis that this is going to set up Sony for something else. I think that's something to consider. I just don't know what they could use it for.
Neither do I, but it just, I don't know. I get that feeling that it's for something else.
Well, it's kind of a big announcement alongside some big games announced for the February free games. The headliners, of course, are the PlayStation 4 games. For Honor from Ubisoft, that is going to be coming for free in February, which is pretty awesome. I would definitely love to get in there. Let me ask you a question, Yield. Between the factions, among all the factions in For Honor, would you rather be a Viking, a knight, or a samurai?
Probably a knight, with Viking being right underneath there. And nothing against samurais, but there's just something about a knight and the, I don't know if I want to say barbaric or the ferocity of a Viking that make them just like neck and neck.
Yeah, I would have to go with Viking, although I've always played almost like all my games, my action-adventure games. I've played kind of like the style that I'm Kratos in every game, where I'm just going to go, just put my head down and just go like a bull. I'm just going to go hard, I'm going to berserk it, and that's kind of the way I've always played games. I've gotten a little less so, do a little more guarding, a little more defensive in the past few years, but mostly it's been like I'm playing God of War all the time, and I'm just trying to crush everything. So the Viking would probably be perfect for me. Plus, the picture of the Viking has a pretty sweet battle axe, and I do like myself some battle axes. But you can make your choice on what you're going to play as in For Honor starting in February, early February. By the time you are hearing this, you will likely have had the opportunity to download it, so choose your sides wisely. Although, like I said, you can't really pick wrong between a Viking, a samurai, or a knight. Just whatever your style is. Hitman, the complete first season, is also coming to PlayStation Plus for free this month. I know that Hitman's popular. It's a long-running series. I'm not a huge fan of Agent 47 and all his deeds, but Hitman is a big game. So it seems like February. I remember there was a February maybe 5 or so years ago where they released BioShock Infinite and Devil May Cry DMC for PlayStation Plus freebies. So Sony, after the holidays, does seem to like to give us the heavy hitters. So, I mean, this is a big month for Plus.
It is. And a couple of really good games. I'll have to decide. I picked up the definitive edition, I think, of Hitman for like $20 at GameStop. So I'll have to do a little bit of research to see if the version we're getting from Plus is the same that I got from GameStop. I might take my GameStop one back and say, hey, I got this for a gift. I want my $20 back.
I mean, it does say Hitman the complete first season. I just don't know if that includes all of DLC or anything that might have come alongside of it.
So, I mean, But For Honor, I remember playing the beta, and I remember enjoying what I was playing, but I was frustrated because there was just some things that just wasn't clicking with me, and I don't know if that was because I was playing on the last day of the beta, and I was just trying to play it to say I gave it a try, and so therefore I couldn't fully enjoy it. But I'm glad we're getting it for free. I would like to take another crack at it.
Well, it's a PvP game, so I'm assuming that most of the battles take place online. Like, there's not couch co-op for this game, is there?
I believe like there is a single player for it, but I believe that the meat of it is online.
Okay, and that is probably going to turn a lot of people off. I mean, it's free, so, whatever. But that probably will turn some people off if your main, the meat of your game is going to be PvP, because a lot of people just don't like to play online.
That is true.
But, 2 quality games here coming out for February, so can't really complain if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber. The other games in the lineup, and before we go on with this, these games will actually be available for free into March, because actually March 8th, they will be free until March 8th, because as a reminder, next month, after March 8th, PS3 and PS Vita games will no longer be part of the February free games. Or sorry, not February free games, but the PlayStation Plus games offered every month, the Instant Game Collection. So these will be the last games that you will get from PlayStation Plus for free for the PS3 and for the Vita. The PS3 games are Dive Kick. It's a cross-buy, actually, with the Vita. And Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. So they're going out with a bang there with an MGS game. For the Vita, both of these games are also cross-buy with the PS4. Gunhouse and Rogue Aces. So it's nice that they're offering 3 games that are cross-buy. Not only that, but you're also getting Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. So if you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 4 before, they're giving it to you for free.
Awesome.
So I would say this is a very good lineup of games for February. So good job, Sony. I think this will excite a lot of people. For Honor is one of those games that people, may have heard of but didn't want to try. This gives them that ability to step in there and just kind of see what it's like.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with what we're getting for February. So that means that here, March or April, is going to start going downhill for a little bit, because that's just kind of how it always goes, but not to be a Debbie Downer. They always seem to give you another good boost right before summer. Hey, here's something to play through the summer months.
Great month of games for PlayStation Plus. The freebies this month, nothing to complain about, although there have been quite a few complaints about an email that Ubisoft sent out, which was a promotional email for The Division 2. As we mentioned earlier, Division 2 is coming out in March 15th on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Tricky's getting that day one and playing as much of it as he possibly can. But Ubisoft has recently had to send out apologies. They've apologized via email. This story comes from Eurogamer, and basically Ubisoft has gotten a lot of complaints because they, in a subject line of an email promoting Division 2, they said, "Come see what a real government shutdown looks like in private beta." So, as you can imagine, Ubisoft has apologized for this, but not necessarily the most tactful thing to send out. Of course, we have recently been through a government shutdown here in the U.S., where a lot of federal employees, had to go without paychecks for a while, and it was not a good situation, especially over the things that our politicians were arguing about, but it was not a good situation. A lot of people went out without paychecks, and money is one of those things in life that can really cause a lot of stress. Financial stress tears apart families, it tears apart relationships. So, I think that this is one of those things that Ubisoft definitely should have apologized for. They said that they didn't mean to make light of it, or, all the stress that the shutdown caused. Of course, we're still on there's still the potential for us to go into shutdown again, but Ubisoft has apologized for it. Yield, I'm assuming that you are thinking along the same lines that I am, and where this was pretty warranted.
Well, no, I'm more of the, I guess I'm going to say, I'm 50-50. I totally understand why the apology came through, of it, we had just kind of reached a truce so to speak, to open the government back up. A lot of people were working without paychecks, so they got to get their back pay, and there was a lot of people not getting paid. That's not cool.
So wait, hold on. Did they even offer back pay?
Yes, they told them when the government reopened that they would get paid for the days that they worked. So they will get paid. It was just a matter of when they would get paid. So that all being said, I gotta say, from the other side of the coin, that's a good bit of promotion. It was just some bad timing.
Yeah, I mean, it may tie to things within the story of the game and what's going on in the game, but, the shutdown was a stressful time for a lot of people. Our politicians bickering like idiots. But really, it wasn't the politicians that were hurt. It was the people, the government employees who didn't get paychecks to help, feed their families, pay bills, pay off credit cards. Like, those people, like, if you went through that, I can totally understand.
Yes, you would not find it as funny as me sitting here going, I see what you did there. That's funny. No.
Yeah, because there's someone reading the story. They're like, real government shutdown. Bitch, I didn't get money for 30 days or 30 plus days. What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about? That's not funny.
That was a real shutdown. I'll show you a real foot up your ass. You send out another email like this again.
I totally agree with everybody who is upset about that. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying from the other side of the coin, the way the division works, seeing what a real government shutdown would do, I see the angle that they were playing, and maybe, although they say they wasn't, the little jab at the government. So I find it funny in that instance, but if you're sitting on the other side of the coin where you were a government employee, that's not cool, man.
I don't think it was malicious in any way by
No,
Ubisoft.
it wasn't.
I just think it was better off not sent out.
Yes, not at this time. If we hadn't gone back into if we don't go back into another shutdown, you might have been able to get away with it at launch.
Yeah, and if Ubisoft really wants to appease us, then they will send us what the details of what they're working on for the PlayStation 5. Now, PlayStation 5 dev kits are out in the world. Some of the biggest developers, the third-party developers, have them. Don't really know what they're working on, but
they're working on something.
Yep, according to, was watching an episode of The Fix on IGN, and the Sony's first-party studios are shifting their exclusive focus to the PlayStation 5.
Death Stranding.
Yeah, there's a lot of people wondering if that game's going to come out for PlayStation 5. It also makes you wonder
Last of Us 2.
Last of Us 2, that's the other big one. So, with this news that the PlayStation 5, it's kind of like all the firepower is going to PlayStation 5 now. You'll probably still get some really good games for the 4 that's not like the PlayStation 4 is going to dry up. But this makes you wonder if Days Gone is really going to be the last big exclusive for the PlayStation 4. Now, they may have games, like sometimes Nintendo will put a game on its new console and then also make it compatible with the old console. It makes you wonder if Sony's going to do that, split that up here, where they're going to have...
I can see that with The Last of Us. Depending...
Or they could do what they did with the PlayStation 4, which is re-release The Last of Us, or they could release The Last of Us 2 for the PlayStation 4, and then make an updated version for the 5 later on down the road.
I can see them, depending on how close they are with this game, or depending on when the 5 comes out, that you're either going to get, both. Here's the 4, and then a few months later, here's the 5 version. Or it'll all just get shifted over to the 5. I do kind of seem to think that Days Gone will be one of the last big ones, because there's been a lot, even before we got a confirmed release date, there has been a lot of focus on Days Gone.
There has been. We need to clarify that the Daily Fix, the episode from IGN that I'm pulling this from, the news, or the suggestion that Sony's top exclusive, their priorities now are shifting more to the PlayStation 5 for their top exclusives. It came from an analyst. So this did not come from a Sony representative themselves, but, given that the PlayStation dev kits are out there. The PlayStation 5 dev kits are out there. We've been talking about PlayStation 5 for what seems like a year now. It's probably a pretty good guess that they're going to be shifting their focus and their biggest games to the PlayStation 5.
Well, we made this comment. I know we made it on the show probably right after E3. We said that, Insomniac had Days Gone. Or not Days Gone. Insomniac had Spider-Man. Sucker Punch is doing
Ghost of Tsushima. And then Sony's been pushing really hard for Ben Studios' Days Gone. Now we know Naughty Dog's got Last of Us 2, and Hideo has got Death Stranding, which everybody's pretty much thinking that's a 5 game. You haven't heard a lot about Last of Us since E3, so I would even say that a strong case could be made that that's going to be a 5 game, depending on if, what happens this year at E3. If you don't hear anything like a release date for the 5, I know Sony's not going to be at E3. So around that time, if you don't hear a release date for Last of Us 2, I'm thinking that might get pushed off to a 5 game, and your last big 4 games are you're going to get Days Gone and Ghost of Tsushima. One of the things I could see if we're getting close enough to the PlayStation 5 launch and Sony, because Naughty Dog, they're going to put a lot of care into The Last of Us 2, so they're going to take the time to make it great. I can see Sony, if it's getting close enough, that they'll push it to the 5, because think about that. If that's one of your launch titles, and you somehow get Death Stranding together as a launch title, as people always talk about not having any games to play at launch, it'd be like, hey, come buy a PlayStation 5, these are the games we have for you. Those would be system sellers, especially with how much people love Hideo Kojima. Sony has a precedent where they do release big games for a console before the leap to another console. The original The Last of Us was, it was released before the PS4. They didn't push that. It was one of the final big games for the PS3. You had on PS2, you had God of War 2. Sony could have pushed God of War 2 onto the 3. It wasn't that far before the release of the 3, but they still put it on the 2. So I'd say that Sony's precedent, once they announce a game, is more so to keep it on the console that they've been pushing while it's announced. So I think that's where Sony's precedent is. Doesn't mean that won't change, but until I see otherwise, I'm going to believe that The Last of Us 2 is coming for the 4, and that Death Stranding is still planned for the 4. Like we said, with The Last of Us, they made an updated edition for the 4, so they could always do that on the 5, The Last of Us 2, and then, hey, if you've been holding off on a PlayStation, we've got another edition for you ready to go on the 5.
And I see that as a plausible path as well.
Because, with the release of God of War, Sony Santa Monica, what are they working on now? You know that they're shifting to 5. So if, we're talking about the 5 release next year or 2 years from now, you potentially have a Sony Santa Monica game lined up right at launch for the PlayStation. And Sony, it seems like every video game console has one big game at launch. Sony Santa Monica could be that big game with Naughty Dog working on Uncharted, Ben Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima from Sucker Punch. Dreams is another game that's supposed to be coming for the 4. That would take up Media Molecule, so you would assume that Media Molecule would not have a game ready for PlayStation 5 launch.
We've hit just about all the developers. The only thing we haven't hit up is Guerrilla.
That's right. And, okay, let's go ahead and say it now. Guerrilla's going to be making Horizon 2. If it's not Horizon 2, I'm going to be shocked, because I'm not going to say any spoilers, but the end of that game was setting up Horizon 2.
Oh, absolutely.
So you've got to think Horizon 2, Horizon was 2017. Horizon 2 could be the big launch game also
for 2020, yeah.
For the 5. So I think that right now that, we can say that they can push these games, but I think The Last of Us 2 and Death Stranding are still playing for the 4, when you could have Sony Santa Monica and Guerrilla Games working on 2 big launch games for the 5. But one of the nice things that's come out in a patent, and this is another thing I saw in the Daily Fix at IGN, patent that Sony has filed would allow for backwards compatibility for all PlayStation games on the PlayStation 5. So all legacy games, disc-based games that you could actually load into your 5, you could play those on the PlayStation 5, hopefully, if the patent comes to fruition. Now, a lot of times, patents are just made so nobody else can take the idea, and, a game company can just control that idea and no one else can take it. But if this came to fruition, this would be amazing. Now, I don't know if downloadable games would be included in that, but if you have a game, like I have Crash Warped from my original PlayStation disc, it would be nice to be able to pop that into my PlayStation 5. I don't even care if I played the Insane Trilogy last year. If I could pop that game and all my PS2 games, Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal, Twisted Metal Black, if I could actually put those into the PlayStation 5 and play them, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome. And it would also be cool, like if, let's say, you were holding off on a 5, because your 4's fine. You got a backlog. I'm sure most of us have backlogs. I got a huge backlog. So I'm working through my backlog. I'll buy a 5 when I get to it. Your 4 dies. Just it happens. You could buy a 5 and still play your 4 games. So not that a lot of people use backwards compatibility. I remember when Sony walked away from it. The argument that they made was, well, nobody really uses it. And at the time, I'm like, you know what? You're right. I didn't use backwards compatibility as much as I thought I would. But man, the fact that my option was gone was what sucked the most.
Well, backwards compatibility is a nice concept that we all look at a console, and that was one of the big selling points for the PS2 and in the early days of the PS3. Problem is that there are still new games coming out, and our backlogs are already big enough where the chances that you're actually going to have the time to go back and play an old game or want to, as opposed to a newer game or a game you haven't played, it's going to be pretty slim.
Yeah.
It's nice to have, but my thing is, if they allow for backwards compatibility for digital and disc games, that'll be best case scenario. But if the digital games are not backwards compatible, you got to wonder, does that make people reconsider going back to physical media as opposed to downloading games? Because my thought is Sony and Microsoft would want to push people towards digital downloads as opposed to disc-based games, because then you don't have to have GameStop or Walmart or whoever is selling your games. They can just buy them directly from you.
I would think that where we're at with technology today, that you would be able to make downloaded games backwards compatible as well.
Yeah, there were 2 names on the patent, and one of them was Mark Cerny, who was the lead architect for the PlayStation 4. So, like I said, this patent may never come, nothing may ever come of this, but the fact that, it's actually, Sony's actually exploring it and actually putting it out there and trying to protect the idea, that's at least something, especially after they've, when was the last time we had backwards compatibility? It was on the first
runs of the 3.
Yeah, the first edition of the 3, and we haven't had it, for years since then. And even though the 4 didn't have backwards compatibility, people still bought it. It's a better sell. It'll probably end up being a better selling console than 3. So I think that in the end, it'll excite a lot of people that backwards compatibility could potentially be back, but it's not going to be the thing that actually drives Sony to success. It's going to be the games that they make in their first-party studios. It's the same thing always.
I mean, we're not going to lie. When Microsoft came out, what was it, 2 years ago?
And basically like a slap in the face to Sony, be like, hey.
And said, hey, listen, all those 360s and Xbox games that you guys got, you know what? You can play them on the one. We're going to start opening them up, and we're going to do the same thing with, I think even the digital, you could download them. And it's like, what? And a lot of people were very excited about that. And even though Sony was just kind of like, no, this is the stance that we're taking, you can see the buzz that it created then. And as they added games to that library, it generally got a buzz every time. Oh, I can do this now? So I am surprised that Sony's doing it, but I'm also, or I shouldn't say that they're doing it, they're considering it. And I applaud them for it.
Well, for better or for worse, Sony has always done what they've wanted to, whether it was a stupid move or not. PR slip, trying to... It worked out in the end, but trying to force Blu-ray, the Blu-ray versus HD video war that went on in the early days of the PlayStation that made the PlayStation one of the things that made it so expensive. But, they've always done what they thought was best, regardless of how they thought the fans would react. So, they probably could go on without backwards compatibility. It's been kind of a trend where, okay, well, you can't play this game, but we're just going to re-release it for, the console. It's one of those things where developers have gotten into the mindset where they, instead of making sure we can have the license to play a game on every console, we now have to buy an entirely new version of that game to play it on the newest console. It would be nice to see that go away.
Well, it would. And I point at Harmonix when they came out with Rock Band 4. One of the first things they said was, hey, all them songs that you've been supporting us with and that you bought, you can play them on the 4. You own those. And, that was, everybody's like, what? So I do think that a lot of people would, I bought this. If I can keep playing it from console to console, that makes your console more valuable to me.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to have. You would rather have the option than not have the option. At the same time, though, it's not going to stop me from buying a console. And, as much as I would love to just put Twisted Metal Black into a console, because I now don't have a PlayStation 2 anymore, I literally can't play that game on anything. I just keep the disc because I love that game so much. But if I could pop that in, even 15 minutes, every 6 months or something like that, that would still be nice. Now, I guess Sony has to weigh the cost of implementing that technology with how much people are going to play it or use it, because at this point, you don't really think about it, but Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo have user data. They know what we're doing, they know what we're playing, just like Netflix does, they know what we're watching, so they're weighing their options as far as financials goes, and they say, is it really worth it for us to keep spending money on this technology if people aren't using it? Think of, servers for old games. Multiplayer games, well, there may be some people that still want to play a game, but it's not financially viable anymore because you've got 3 games released since then, and you don't want to keep playing for servers for games that people aren't playing on in mass.
No mas.
So, it seems like... No, I did not say no mas, Yield. It seems like this is... I don't think there's anybody who owns a PlayStation or a PlayStation game that would not love to see backwards compatibility on the 5.
I would like to see it.
I think we would all love to see it. I just don't know how much we're going to use it.
I totally agree with that statement.
All right, well, folks, that is going to bring us to the end of this episode of Trophy Horrors. Sorry, for those of you hoping for some Kingdom Hearts 3, sorry, Yield and I are not into that.
No.
Hopefully, we should see if Donnie's available and try to get him on the show just so he can talk about it, because I know he could sit and do a podcast for 6 hours about how the first hour of Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, absolutely.
But maybe we'll have to entice Donnie, throw some chum on the water, and see if we can get the great white shark back here on the show again.
There you go. Open a can of dog food.
Oh, God, he cooked it on the stove. He cooked it on the stove. Crazy son of a bitch. All right, well, we're going to do some housekeeping. We're going to clean this shit up and get out of here. On episode 376. I had to say it again just so people know that I hadn't forgotten which episode that we were on. As always, we are looking for help. There is a Help Wanted tab on the front page of the website. That is provengamer.com. Go click that link. Fill out the application that Tricky has put forth. Tricky's had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life, so if he can't get back to you right away, then just give him some time. He'll get back to you. We promise. If you are an aspiring writer, podcaster, video editor, or news reporter, if you've got skills in any of those segments, we want you to join provengamer.com. So again, go to the website, hit the Help Wanted tab, and Tricky will get back to you as soon as he can. If you watch Twitch, please watch our Twitch channel. We're streaming all the time. You can check out, if you're on Discord, we announce when we're on Twitch streaming. Our channel is twitch.tv/provengamer. If you want to get a hold of us, we have Twitter accounts. There's at provengamer. There's also at Trophy Horrors. Tricky is at Tricky Mick. I'm at Sondosaurus Rex. Steve is at BadChild27. Sid is at Siderney, and Yield is at I Yield to No One. I feel the need to spell Sid's every week because I feel like it would be hard as hell to find Sid if you didn't know how to spell it. Siderney, Sidderny. I apologize to you if you tweet at me or you mention me on Twitter and I don't get back to you. I only got in there every so often. Mostly just to kind of complain about something wrong with the game I'm playing or to make fun of a celebrity that says something stupid. Email. We also have an email if you prefer to get in contact with us that way. Trophyhorrors@provengamer.com is our email. Phone number. Yield, what's the phone number they can call?
330-PROVEN9. 330-776-8369.
Yep, if you want to get in contact with us, tell us how great we're doing, how terrible we're doing. We also have a Facebook page, Trophy Horrors Facebook page. Please join us on there, give us a like, and join the conversation. We're posting goofy stuff all the time. If you have questions for the show, questions for the host, you can post it there, and we will read it on air.
Poking fun at Tricky.
It's a very favored pastime. Going hunting or throwing the frisbee. People just love to...
We just pick on Tricky.
Poke the bear, as you would say.
Poke the bear.
If you like Trophy Horrors, why don't you check out our other gaming podcast, PG Spoilers. We recently released an episode on God of War. So, there you go. I'm getting ready to play God of War, so obviously it's not something I would want to listen to. But if you put a bow on God of War, go listen to PG Spoilers and see what everyone thought about the big twist in the game, all the things that happen here, there, and yonder. Nintendo dual screens with Steven and Andy. If you're a Nintendo fan, you say, hey, there's not enough or any Nintendo love on Trophy Horrors, except when Alex mentions he's been playing the Switch. Go listen to Steven and Andy on Nintendo dual screens. As well, you can also listen to The Game Stuff, which is a more generalized gaming podcast here on Trophy Horrors. You can find all of our podcasts on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, various podcast applications, Google Play, TuneIn, and if you are a listener on Spotify and iHeartRadio, you can find both Trophy Horrors and Nintendo dual screens on both of those
devices.
On both of those. Well, it's not really a device.
Applications?
Applications, there we go. I was looking for a good word and it was just staring me right in the face. We have 3 PlayStation 4 communities, so if you're on the 4, you can connect with us there. Yield, why don't you tell them about what we got going on the PlayStation 4?
So the site has one, Proven Gamer. I've got one called Platinum Guild, where you can come, post your latest platinum, encourage people, congratulate. There are quite a few people in. Like, we got around 30. I think that's quite a few for me, I guess. And there are a handful that are well over 100 platinums. That's just mind-boggling.
I'm in the 100 platinum group.
You are in the 100 platinum group. I may get there this year. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you're planning for at least one a year.
I'm playing one a month.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, one a month. So you would at least get 12, theoretically.
So theoretically, I had 16 last year. So it is possible. I'm at, what am I at? 87? So, yeah. It's possible. 17 would do it. And then the show has one called T-Dub's Brothel, because the brothel is where the hoes hang out, or the whores hang out. And since Shuhei won't let us say whores, it would be really awkward to have a community called Trophy Star.
Yeah, we're Trophy Whores, Yield, not Trophy Hoes.
Not Trophy Hoes.
Also, if you want to reach 100, you just got to go extra balls to the wall for 1 month. 2 platinums in 1 month.
Yeah.
I may not be great at math, but that is math that I can do.
That is. I've got some games that I haven't played that I could do that with. I've got several smaller games. I got... I just picked up Psychonauts, and I've got Grim Fandango in my backlog that I haven't played yet, and I've got... I don't know if What Remains of Edith has one. I got Through the Flaming Flood. I've got some smaller games that are in my library that I haven't dove into yet that I could probably knock some platinums out pretty quick. So I'm trying to work those in, plus play my big titles at the same time.
I believe in you. You can do it. Unless you have some fear of the number 13, in which case you might be in a little trouble there.
No. Just a number, man.
Just a number. Yield is not, he doesn't have any superstitions. Oh, well, actually, before we get out of here, are there actually any superstitions that you are mindful of? Are you afraid of any of those? Like black cats, do you care if a black cat passes your across your path? Or do you ever walk under ladders?
Oh, I walk under ladders all the time. That one never really bothered me. I'm just, you know what? Probably the broken mirror one.
7 years of bad luck for breaking a mirror?
7 years bad luck for breaking a mirror. I do my darndest not to break a mirror. If I do, I just chuckle about it and go about it, because I'm like, well, there ain't nothing you can do about it now. 7 years bad luck, here it comes. But
listen to this guy over here with his devil may care attitude. But why that one above all the other ones?
Yeah, I don't know. A black cat walking across your path. I mean, what are you going to do? Circle back to where the cat veers a different direction and then walk that way? I mean, unless you turn around and totally walk the other way and never go that way again, that cat's already walked across your path. You wait an hour, does the path disappear? I mean, it's already there. Underneath a ladder, I never really got it. I'd walk underneath a ladder, look up, nope, nothing happened to me. You know, so that one never really fazed me. Friday the 13th, as a kid, maybe it fazed me. Now, it just seems like that's a day where all the weirdos come out. You know, and if things do go awry on that day, be it at work or whatever, you just kind of chuckle and go, well, yeah, it's Friday the 13th. I guess it's expected today.
You know what, Yield? I think we found out how it's going to happen to you. It's going to be because of a ladder on Friday the 13th. That's how you're
carrying a mirror with a black cat crossing my path. I'm going to get hit with all of them.
No, what's going to happen is a black cat is going to cross your path in the morning. You're going to break a mirror, and that's going to bring on the hellstorm at the end of the day.
At the end of the day. I'm going to walk under a ladder and die.
We knew him well.
Yeah.
Many years
all
from
the
now.
warning signs were there, and he just carelessly ignored them all.
All right, well, we're gonna get off the subject of death and talk about very lively things here with our sponsors. We are proud to be partnered with the Humble Bundle. If you don't know what the Humble Bundle is, it is a charity initiative that bundles games together. Usually the value is over $200. Bundles games together and puts them up to for sale. You can name your price. All the money goes to charity. There are tiers to each bundle, so the more you pay, the more games you get. But if you want to pay, say, $2 for 3 games or something like that, you can kind of name your price for the bundle. But again, the more money you pay, the more games you'll get from the bundle. They also have sales on games every month. So go to humblebundle.com and check out what they have for this month. I always post the link to Proven Gamer's Humble Bundle page in every show description that we have for every episode. So if you want the specific link for that, you can find it in the show description for this show and every show. We are also sponsored by Amazon. So Amazon.com, you shop there probably, you buy a lot of stuff from there. It's just easier to shop from Amazon than actually go to a store these days. Before you do that, before typing it into your address bar, go to provengamer.com. We have a link to Amazon.com on our website. And we just ask that, only got to do it once. Go to provengamer.com. Click that link. It'll take you straight to Amazon.com. You can do all your shopping there, anything you want to get. It also does help us, with the podcast and, just Proven Gamer in general. So if you could do that for us, we would really appreciate it. We also have a Patreon page. And again, I don't have access to the tiers. So we're going to once again let Tricky tell you all about that. And then Extra Life. All right, so this year it is on November 2nd. And if you don't know what Extra Life is, go to the website extra-life.org. It's essentially a charity initiative where you play games for an entire day and you collect sponsorships or donations, however you want to look at it, for your gaming marathon. And those donations go to a Children's Miracle Network hospital of your choice. The way it works is you go to the website, you sign up to play on a team, create your own team, or play solo, however you want to do it. Then you pick a Children's Miracle Network hospital to represent. From there, you start collecting donations, tell friends and family, coworkers what you're doing. Tell them to support you on November 2nd for your gaming marathon. Really, the most important thing you can say is that 100% of the donation that you give me for my marathon is going to the hospital that I'm opting to represent. The motto for Extra Life is play games, heal kids, and there's really no better example of a win-win situation in this world. Helping people and playing video games for an entire day. Pretty damn great. So that is going to be the end of the show for this week. But before we get out of here, I definitely want to give a big shout out to our Patreon producer, Felicia Staff. Thank you very much, Felicia, for your continued support of Trophy Whores. Yield.
Yeah.
Shout outs for this week.
So, would like to give a shout out, as always, to the pimps and the madams of the whoredom. Without you, the show would not be 376 episodes strong.
Got to keep saying that number. So
got to keep saying that. So that way, next week we know we're at 377.
Yeah, let's see if we can remember that next week.
Probably not. Shout
wheels
out.
come off the cart when Tricky's not around.
The wheels have come off the cart bad tonight for me. Shout out to my wife that made some awesome chili soup this week when we had the polar vortex go through here and everybody complained about how cold it was.
Such a cool name for a weather movement.
It was. And you know what?
Polar vortex.
And you know what? It was cold, but just dress for it. I don't know. I live in Ohio, so it's not like I lived in Florida and all of a sudden it got to 40 below.
Also sounds like it could be a hair metal band.
That does. Polar vortex.
Like we said, wheels off the show. We're pretty much riding a unicycle at this point.
We're holding this thing together with duct tape and Band-Aids.
Give me my bubblicious bubble gum. I'm going to hold this sucker together.
Hold it together. You know, that'll do it for. Well, that won't do it for me. Shout out to Tricky, who I know wanted to be here tonight. He, like we've said, he's got a lot of stuff going on right now, so that's cool. Shout out to Alex for hosting tonight and being here with me to record, and that'll do me. Peace out.
All right, and I first and foremost want to thank our listeners. Thank you all very much for spending some time with us every week. You know, time is precious, time is important, and it never seems like we have any of it in our enough of it in our days to do the things we want to do. But we do appreciate whether you listen to us on your daily commute, while you go to work, while you're at work, if you're at the gym. We do appreciate your time, so thank you very much for being a supporter of this show, being the fuel to the fire that is Trophy Horse, because we would not be on Stitcher, we would not be on iHeartRadio or Spotify without your support. So thank you all very much for listening every single week. Also want to give a shout out to Yield for recording with me tonight. Thank you, sir, for getting on here and discussing some PlayStation 5
rumors.
Yeah, we'll call them rumors. I mean, we kind of expect the PlayStation 5 at this point, but they're still rumors because hasn't been confirmed yet.
Well, nothing's been confirmed. Everyone's pretty much banking. Since it didn't happen this year, it's going to happen next year. Sony's pulled their press conference from E3 next year, I'm pretty sure. And so everything points to a PSX or a private announcement. So I'm pretty sure that you're getting an announcement this year.
They don't want to share the limelight with anyone else when they announce something like that.
Nope.
And I mean, E3, if they did announce it at E3, that would kind of steal the show. But also, I'm sure that, Microsoft, if they have an announcement about their next console, Sony doesn't really want to share the limelight with them about that.
No.
And also, I don't believe anything until Shuhei Yoshida says it.
Truth.
Yeah. I don't believe it until it comes out of the man's mouth. So, I'm waiting for that. But, I want to give a shout out also to Tricky, who again could not be here tonight. But hopefully we hope to have him back regularly every week. I'm sure that he wants to get back to the show every week instead of dealing with some of the stuff he's been dealing with. Shout out to Steven as well, and our main man Sid for all the great work he does for Trophy Whores. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to my loving girlfriend Ashley, who made a delicious pot roast dinner tonight. Mac and cheese, asparagus, and mashed potatoes. Yeah, delicious dinner. We went to the park today to enjoy some of the sun because it was in the 60s here. Can't remember the last time it was in the 60s in February in Louisville. But just for being a tremendous partner, thank you, Ashley, for doing far more than making delicious dinner, just being supportive of me and being willing to play games with me. She bought the family Super Mario Party last night, so we were testing the bonds of our relationships by playing some Mario Party. People buying stars, thieving coins. Everything's intact, so we're good. But, Mario Party's kind of a destroyer of friendships, so we were testing it, but we're nice and strong.
Feelings were hurt, tears were shed.
This house ain't made out of popsicle sticks and gum, I'll tell you that much. But thank you to my love Ashley for always being a wonderful partner.
Slanders were thrown.
God, I tell you, I remember back in the days, like Mario Party, it's serious. People getting pissed over those stars. You got a secret star? You got a hidden space? What the fuck?
Insults were had.
Oh yeah. Like, I feel like that game has started more arguments than any other game. Like, more than Mario Kart, more anything. Like, the amount of frustration that's in... Like, because Mario Party's less about skill and more about complete luck.
I don't know. My brother to this day still won't play his friend and me one-on-one in Mario Kart anymore.
Mario Kart, okay, that's another game that is not skill-based. It's more so luck-based. Because...
Those blue shells.
Well, the items in the game, like, the fact that you get crap items when you're in first and everyone else is basically, like, it's open season on you because everyone else behind you is toting blue shells and even red shells. I mean, if someone's got 3 red shells, like, I've been hit before, like, 2-3 times in a row and I fall back 6 spaces, all because I was good enough to get in first.
Yep.
I will say this, that I feel like I played some of the new Mario Party for the Switch. I guess I shouldn't say it's new. I guess it's just Mario Kart 8. Oh, I think I said Mario Party. Mario Kart. I think just Mario Kart 8. The super duper version. It feels like they've almost nerfed it to where you can't actually fall off the tracks anymore. Aww. Because there were some turns by the turns on tracks where I should have fallen off where I didn't. I actually stayed on the track. So I feel like they've even further nerfed that game to the point where after playing it for like maybe 3-4 races, I'm not really super excited to play Mario Kart again. Actually, I think I'm going to say this now. Like, I think the best version of Mario Kart ever was Mario Kart Wii. Yep, I'm going to say that. I'm going to put that out there. I'll throw that in the universe. I know. You're probably going to say 64 because everyone always says 64.
I never played the Wii version. I don't know. I have a lot of fun with Double Dash.
Double Dash does have Petey Piranha. But I feel like the gimmick of having two people on the cart just completely died after that one game. So
it did, but me and my buddies will sit there and you got one guy driving, the other guy is your offense and defense, so you just drive, and then we flip flop we'll do the 16 race for the cup. So every other race you flip flop drivers. So anyway.
All right, well, thank you all for joining this week on the latest episode of Nintendo Dual Screens.
Yep.
Let's get the fuck out of here. Have a good week, everybody. Happy trophy hunting.
Peace out, lighter.
Save your last words, then read on me this. Save your last words. Save your last words, then read on me this. Save your last words, then read on me this. Save your last words, then read on me this. Save your last words, then read on me this.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.